Boom! We are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Nolan Hawkeye Anthony YouTube channel. And I thank all of you for being here wherever you may be. And of course, however you may be listening. I'm going to try and keep this short and sweet. Number one, it's kind of hard for me to discuss the Iowa Hawkeyes when I know, as many of you, that the season, while not over for the long haul, as far as expectations go, my expectations, there is no way for Iowa at this point to meet them. But who, at me being somebody who has done this for a few years now, I have a duty, as I said, when Iowa lost to Iowa State, to pump out the content and keep it going even in the tough times. And that's just the way it is. Before we get to the Iowa versus Northwestern preview, really the only thing that I can say that is any different than what I said in the post-game video, which, by the way, thank you guys for checking that out. Even though I wasn't in my normal confines, I was on the road, and that's why this video is a little bit later than usual. Every single game this year, I've been able to drop the preview, game preview for Iowa's upcoming game about Sunday night, 6 days before Iowa plays the actual game. This one I was unable to do so. I was just super, super busy this weekend. So I'm recording it Monday night. The only thing that I really have left to say is now there's two main things that I'm looking for as an Iowa fan. And by the way, hats off to my Yankees for making the World Series. It's about time. I know a lot of you guys probably highly dislike the New York Yankees. I always tell people they're the one perennial contender, powerhouse that I like. The Bears, they're not. Iowa, while they're good, I wouldn't consider them a perennial powerhouse or anything like that. It's the Yankees. Even in basketball, I would say I like players rather than the actual football team or the actual basketball team. So with regards to Iowa, this is what I would say. There's two things left. I am looking for how they finish this year. Is there any way that they can salvage this season and finish as strong as possible? What would I consider finishing strong? I mean, it depends. It depends on if I take into account my preseason expectations. If I take into account my preseason expectations, what I would consider finishing strong would be winning the rest of the games on their schedule. But based on what we have seen this year, I think what I would, in a box, if I just look at this year, what I would consider finishing strong would be maybe one more loss in the regular season. That is about it. So that's number one. The second thing that I am primarily looking for is some of the up and coming guys getting onto the field and seeing how they look and how they develop. Wide receiver Reese Vanderzee. I want to see how Jacob Gill progresses throughout the year, even though he's an upperclassman. Maybe some of the younger running backs. I would love to see Brendan Sullivan in there. And at this point, I don't know why Iowa wouldn't turn to him, especially with the fact that they are playing his alma mater next week, Northwestern. But that would probably be the second primary thing that I am looking for. In other words, I'm looking for reasons to be optimistic, both player-wise and as far as the Iowa coaching goes for next year. All right, guys, let's take a look at Iowa versus Northwestern. Like I said, I'm going to buzz through this, power through this. I don't want to keep this one super long um, for a variety of reasons, namely because it's not in me. But nonetheless, here we are. This game will be at 12:30 p.m. on BTN. Northwestern comes into this game 3-4, 1-3 in conference. Iowa 4-3, 2-2 in conference. The over and under for this game is 37 and a half. And Iowa comes into this game 14-point favorites against Northwestern. I believe this game is at home. ESPN Football Power Index gives Iowa an 82.5% chance of winning this football game, and Northwestern 17.5% chance, meaning if they were to play this game 10 times in the exact same situation, where it's being played, what time, the whole 9 yards, they Northwestern would win on average close to 2 times out of 10. Iowa would win upwards of 8 out of 10 in their 10 meetings. The last 5, Northwestern got shellacked by Wisconsin. They did beat Maryland. They lost to Indiana, which that does not look like such a bad loss at the moment. They lost to Washington, who Iowa throttled, and they beat Eastern Illinois. Iowa lost last week to Michigan State 32-20. They defeated Washington 40-16. They lost to Ohio State, defeated Minnesota and Troy. My analysis for this game, as I said at the beginning, I am really just looking for Iowa to insert some new guys. I know that they won't do it by and large, but I hope that they are a little bit more aggressive and optimistic in their approach with that, because at this point the season is essentially it's not lost in certain regards, but as far as actually playing for something like a Big Ten title or the college football playoff, the season is essentially over. And because of that, I hope that they will be willing to look at different guys, look at different sets, look at different maybe not schemes, but different plays and things of that nature. Total defense, let's see where Iowa is. Iowa is all the way down to 43rd. When is the last time Iowa's defense has gone that far down? They are now 43rd in total defense in the entire country. Let's see where Northwestern checks in at. Northwestern has actually taken kind of a step back from they are 56th in total defense. So not terrible. Still, I would say right around average, which honestly, Iowa right now, their defense is between above average and average. That's where they currently stand. But of course, Northwestern took a step back when you look at how they overperformed last year. They rehired their coach, and they aren't having the second season that they would have liked. It's obviously we've seen worse, but I think obviously they were hoping for more than what they have had. This is total offense here. I thought Iowa would be page 2. I guess not. Let's see. Iowa is 102nd in total offense, and Northwestern 129. Man, this is gonna be, honestly, these two teams are like evenly matched if you look at the major stats, but I do think Iowa, much like Michigan State, not that it did them a whole lot of good, they actually do have a more talented roster. But man, the stats are like neck and neck. The last stat we're going to look at is scoring offense here. Iowa is 74th, averaging 27.9 points per game. Northwestern, if I had to guess, is going to be on page 3. Look at that. Michigan State 110 even after their game against Iowa. Northwestern 119. All right, guys, my final analysis here for this game is, again, it's very difficult as an Iowa fan to have any sort of optimism or positivity now that the season is essentially gone. Iowa is 32nd in scoring defense, and Northwestern is actually 30th. These two teams come into it very evenly matched statistically. Obviously, Iowa playing at home gives them an edge. I really am just looking as a fan and as somebody who talks about Iowa, I am really just looking for signs of life, signs of optimism, because even if, like, for example, Caleb Johnson goes off for a big game and Iowa wins, that'll be good. But I know that Caleb Johnson will likely be gone. And it actually kind of gives me somewhat of a bittersweet, if not negative taste, because I know that Iowa is essentially wasting one of the best seasons that they've ever had from a running back. And that is astonishing. If you think about Iowa's season, probably the most astonishing aspect to their performance has been their defense. If you told a lot of people, or if you told mainly Iowa fans and analysts alike, that Iowa would be, 70 in the top 80 in scoring offense, I think a lot of people would think that Iowa would be a top 25 team, if not top 15. Because of how good their defense has been. And you take into account how many people their defense had returning, so on and so on. So this season at this point has been somewhat of a shock. Not somewhat, it has been a shock. And so at this point, really the only thing that's left is finding signs of life, finding signs of optimism. As for this specific game, I think both these two teams are fairly evenly matched as far as the stats go. I do think Iowa has more talent, as I said it against their game against Michigan State. Hopefully, they can capitalize on it. I really hope that Iowa plays Brendan Sullivan for this game. I don't think we might see him in some packages. What I meant to say is I hope that they play Brendan Sullivan meaningful snaps and actually get him in there for at least a couple of series, if not flat out starting him for the game. But I don't think we're going to see that. I'm trying to see if Iowa is. Yeah, it looks like this game is at home against Northwestern, but I don't think that's going to happen. Knowing Kirk Ferentz, knowing the Iowa football program, it's just not going to happen. I do think Iowa will win this game. I'll go 25-17. I think Northwestern scores more points than I would have guessed. If you asked me what I thought the score would be at the beginning of the season, I think Northwestern would struggle to score over 14 points. But given the defense that Iowa has had this year, I think 17. If I was able to hold them to 17, that'll actually be good. And I don't think Iowa is going to score over 30 points in this one. If they do, that will be awesome. I don't think it's going to happen. I think this game will be closer than it should be because, of course, it's Iowa versus Northwestern. So if Iowa can escape there with a win, I think what Iowa should be hoping for is a double-digit victory. If they can do that, that'll be a positive. But again, Iowa and Northwestern tends to be a long, drawn-out fight. And I think the only difference this year is we're going to see slightly more points, but the game will be just as close. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys hang in there as I am trying to do myself. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment. You guys know the drill. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow. Facts or feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. I love you guys. See you guys next time. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.